Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. We got a brand new story to share with you today. So let's jump right in. My name's Frank, and I want to be real with you right from the start. Being a stepfather can be one of the most unappreciated roles a man can take on. That might sound a little blunt, but if you've ever stepped into those shoes, you probably understand exactly where I'm coming from. You give your time, energy, money, love, your entire self. And sometimes, no matter how much you give, it's just not enough. You try to patch a hole left by someone else, thinking that love and consistency will be enough to fill it. But life has a way of showing you that sometimes it just isn't. For me, that realization hit hard one Christmas night, right at the dinner table, surrounded by family. That's when I stood up and made a decision, one that stunned everyone in the room. When I first met Sophia, the woman who would later become my wife, I was drawn in by her ambition. She struck me as someone determined, figuring life out just like the rest of us. She didn't mention having a child at the beginning, and I didn't suspect anything. I thought I knew who she was. We began dating and taking the time to really understand each other. I fell for her deeply, in a way that's hard to explain. Eventually, though, she opened up. Sophia told me she had a daughter, Carrera, who was 4 at the time and living in another city with her grandparents. She hadn't told me earlier, and I won't lie, I was surprised. But as she told me more, I started to understand. She'd gotten pregnant in her late teens with a guy she was in love with, someone she thought she'd spend forever with. But when she told him about the baby, he denied it was his. That broke her. Though he eventually came around and admitted the child was his, by then she'd seen too much of who he really was. He was unreliable, always in and out of trouble, not someone you'd trust to raise a child. Sophia made the tough call to keep him at a distance. She didn't want that kind of man around her daughter, and I respected her for that. As I listened, I didn't see her as someone with baggage. I saw her as someone who had been through something difficult and came out stronger. I didn't just grow closer to her. I felt a connection to her daughter, too. I told Sophia then that if this was going to be serious between us, I wasn't just signing up for a relationship with her. I was choosing to be there for Carrera as well. At the time, I don't think I fully understood what it meant to become a father to a child who wasn't biologically mine, but I made that decision with my whole heart. I accepted her. I accepted her daughter, and to me that meant something powerful. Even if I didn't yet understand what would eventually cost me. After we got married, I brought up the idea of having Carrera come live with us full-time. Sophia thought about it and agreed. We made the arrangements, and soon enough, she was living under our roof. Those first few months were good. At the time, she was our only child, and I threw myself into the role of being her dad. I didn't care that we didn't share blood. None of that mattered to me. From the moment she came home, I treated her like she was my own daughter. I wanted her to know she was safe, loved, and chosen. A couple of years later, Sophia and I had a child together, another daughter. You'd think that might have changed the family dynamics, but I was determined that it wouldn't. I made a promise to myself that both girls would get the same amount of love and attention from me. I worked hard to make sure Carrera never felt like she was being replaced or pushed aside. Whether it was birthdays, bedtime routines, school functions, or quiet dinners, I made it clear that I was there for both of them equally. We weren't rich, but we were stable enough. Still, I knew how quickly time could pass and how fast things like college sneak up on you. Tuition isn't getting any cheaper, and I didn't want either of the girls starting adulthood weighed down by debt. That's when I quietly opened 2 college funds, one for each daughter. I didn't even tell Sophia about it. I just made sure to contribute the same amount to each account every month. Over time, with interest and consistency, those accounts started to grow. But as Carrera hit her teenage years, things changed. She wasn't that little girl who used to race to the door when I came home from work or sit next to me during movie nights. I figured it was just teenage stuff at first, a phase like everyone says. I still tried to connect with her in small ways, reminding her I was there. Then I found out something that hit me hard. She'd been talking to her biological father. Not only that, I didn't even hear it from her. It came to me through a roundabout way, and when I confronted Sophia about it, she admitted it. Her explanation was that he had somehow gotten Carrera's number and reached out. He said he wanted to build a relationship, to be part of her life again. And when I asked why no one thought to tell me, Sophia just gave me this look and said, "He's still her father." I didn't think it was my place to say no. That explanation stung. I felt like I had been sidelined. All those years I had been pouring my heart into this role, and now I felt like a guest in my own family. But I didn't argue. I just nodded and walked away. After that, the distance between me and Carrera only grew. Still, I kept loving her. I never stopped showing up. I made sure she had everything she needed: school supplies, tutors, emotional support. I never treated her differently than her younger sister. I kept hoping that one day she'd see me not as some guy who lived in a house, but as the man who chose to love her from the very beginning. When her 17th birthday came around, I wanted to get her something meaningful. I thought long and hard about what would be both practical and special. In the end, I decided to get her a brand new Honda Civic. It wasn't a flashy car, but it was reliable, safe, and perfect for someone just getting ready for college. I chose a sleek silver color, paid for the insurance, and made sure everything was registered in her name. But when she saw it, her face said everything. No joy, no excitement, just a tight expression like someone had handed her something used and unwanted. And then she asked, "Where's the Benz?" At first, I laughed, thinking she was joking, but she wasn't. A few months earlier, she had shown me a Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 and said that was her dream car. I never imagined she thought I'd actually buy her a luxury vehicle at 17. I calmly explained that while I understood the dream, the reality was that a Mercedes wasn't just expensive to buy. It was costly to maintain, insure, and repair. The Civic was reliable, safe, and made a lot more sense financially. I even told her I'd driven it myself to make sure. It was comfortable and efficient. None of it mattered. From that day on, it was like she held that car against me. Everything came back to that moment. I talked to Sophia about it, hoping she'd help, but all she said was, "She's a teenager, don't let it bother you." But it did bother me. No matter how many things I did for her afterward, that ungrateful reaction stuck. And as she started staying out later and later, I tried to talk to her calmly. I said, "Hey, I know you're getting older, but please just let us know where you are. It's not safe out there." She looked at me like I was being ridiculous and snapped back, "You're always." That's where the thread of our connection really began to unravel, and it's what led to the moment months later, when I stood up from the dinner table and made the decision that would change everything. She told me I was trying to control her life, then walked out like it was nothing. Another day I brought up how she'd been spending time with a group of guys known for trouble. I just said, "Be careful who you hang around. Not everyone has good intentions." I meant it as concern, but she didn't take it that way. She hit me with, "Why do you even care? You're not even my real father." That one stung in a way I can't even describe. It felt like every moment we'd shared, every memory, every sacrifice, it was all wiped clean in a second. And as hard as that was, it still wasn't the worst of it. There was one night I'll never forget. She lied about where she was, didn't come home until after midnight. When I confronted her, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Even my real father doesn't act like he knows everything. You're doing too much for a stepfather." That shattered something deep inside me. In that moment, I stopped being a parent and just became a man who had tried too hard. And the part that hurt most? Sophia, her mother, said nothing. She just stood there, didn't check her, didn't defend me, didn't even speak. That silence cut deeper than anything Kara could have said. That's when it hit me. I was the only one fighting for this family. Time passed, and eventually Kara went off to college. And despite everything, a piece of me still held on to hope. Maybe some space would give her time to think. I didn't stop caring just because she treated me like I didn't matter. That's not who I am. When Christmas came and she came back for holidays, I saw a chance. I remembered her mentioning a designer bag she liked just once in passing. So I tracked it down, bought it, wrapped it carefully, and I included a card. Signed it, Dad, because that's still who I wanted to be for her, despite everything. That night started out nice. The food was good. Everyone was relaxed. We laughed, passed dishes around. For a moment, it felt like old times before everything got messy. Then her aunt, Sophia's younger sister, smiled and said, "These girls are lucky to have such a great dad." I wasn't expecting praise, but what came next? Cara let out this loud, dismissive snort without even looking up, and she said, "Some people aren't worth calling dad." The room went silent. It felt like the air was sucked out. My chest tightened, like someone had driven a knife into me and was twisting it. Sophia looked down like she wanted to disappear. Our younger daughter looked from me to her sister, clearly confused. That was the moment I knew. Everything I had done, all the effort I gave to be a father, to her didn't mean a thing to Cara. I just smiled, stood up, walked to a Christmas tree, picked up the gift I had bought her, and tucked it under my arm. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Don't touch anything I've ever given you. Not the gifts, not the car." Then I added, "And I just canceled your college fund. Good luck." She thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. That night, I went to my room, logged into the college fund I had set up for her, and moved every single dollar, all $120,000, into the account for our younger daughter. Then I blocked Cara on everything. Not out of spite. I just had nothing left to say. If she needed answers, she could go to her mother. I made that choice with a clear head. Sometimes silence says more than anything. By the next morning, she had packed up and left for her biological father's house. I heard she had a lot to say over there, claimed I was controlling, manipulative, trying too hard to be something I wasn't. She didn't just burn the bridge. She tried to set it on fire behind her. I didn't respond. That part of me that used to care had gone quiet. Sophia didn't speak to me for a few days, but the tension in the house was thick. Then one evening she tried to guilt-trip me. "You can't give up on her," she said. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her she gave up on me first. I just finally heard her. She kept pushing, questioning what kind of example I was setting. That's when I cut her off. "Do you want to join her?" I asked, "Because I've watched you. You don't talk to her when you should. You stay silent when you should speak. You let her disrespect me right in front of you, and you say nothing." She didn't have a response. 6 months passed. Silence between us. I didn't go looking for her, and she didn't come back. Then one quiet afternoon, my little girl came to me. She looked hesitant, like she'd been thinking hard. She asked, "Dad, can you let my sister come home?" I leaned back and told her, "I didn't send her away." She left. The door was always open. A few days later, Sophia also asked if Cara could come back. I told her the same thing. She could stay here, but I was done being her father. Eventually, Cara showed up. She looked different, not physically, but something in her had changed. She asked to talk. I agreed. She sat down and looked like she was carrying the weight of her choices. She apologized, said she had tried to call and message me everywhere, realized I blocked her on everything. She cried. She admitted she'd made a mistake. I didn't flinch. I wasn't opening that door again. I told her, "You can stay, but I'm not responsible for you. You burned that bridge." Then I added, "And if you disrespect me again, you're gone for good." She didn't argue. She just nodded. Maybe in that moment she finally understood the difference between someone who chose to love her and someone who just shared her DNA. Later, I found out her time with her father wasn't the dream she expected. He couldn't offer the structure, care, or comfort I had given her. His wife saw her as an inconvenience, another mouth to feed. She was constantly reminded she was a burden. She had gone from having her own room, a car, and someone who showed up for her to being treated like she was in the way. I never said, "I told you so." But one day I overheard her on the phone, probably talking to a friend. She didn't know I was nearby. I'll never forget what she said. "I saw hell over there." That's when it really hit me. She had chased a fantasy, and now she understood what she'd left behind. Today she's back in the house, but not back in my heart. The pain is still there, and I'm still holding that line. I haven't returned any of the things I took. Some boundaries, once crossed, leave scars that don't fade easily. Could that change one day? Maybe. I'm not pretending I'm made of stone. But for now, she'll have to rebuild without the things I once gave her. I'm curious what you think. What would you have done? Ever been in a similar situation? Maybe not exactly this, but close? I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment. I read everyone.